We both feel really strongly about making sure that a child is not under pressure when they're being tutored, but they're actually feeling inspired and they're actually enjoying the process of learning.
A lot of courses have lots of children in them, particularly with these online ones. Some of them have sort of hundreds of children attending, and there's no real direct feedback. So it doesn't allow for that progression that we see.
You mentioned there that you did an annual review. That might be something that's quite novel to someone running a tutoring business.
We're teachers, we're tutors, but we're also mothers, and we have lots of other tutors that are mothers as well. So it's nice to be able to understand that juggle, and I think they relate. Lots of our tutors relate to that, that sort of the difficulties that sometimes that brings.
Hello and welcome to the Qualified Tutor podcast, the podcast that brings you the latest in the world of tutoring, edtech and education, and, hopefully, inspires in you the big change that each and every one of us is capable of. Qualified Tutor is an industry-leading tutor training organisation and online tutoring community for hundreds of tutors around the world. This podcast is the voice of this community, where we aim to hear from tutors, teachers, entrepreneurs, coaches, business experts, students, and more from the world of tutoring about what inspires them every day, how they can help tutors like you, and what they've learned about tutoring along the way. The question is, what will you learn today? Welcome to this episode of the Qualified Tutor podcast. And a big welcome to Dani and Charlotte Badenoch, who are the founders of Bright Light Education. Now, just as a little introduction to Dani and Charlotte and to Bright Light they do things a little bit differently to your standard tuition agency, leading with their range of online courses for students. They also offer alongside that one-to-one private tuition. And this all-in-one support package, complemented by this targeted tutoring, is hugely successful and allows for students to learn alongside others in an environment which brings together the best of the teaching and tutoring worlds. Now, today, we'll be discussing Dani and Charlotte's journey to where they are now, including a hopefully important discussion about the current state of the English curriculum, what their vision for the future is, and how they came to grow this tutoring business from just 2 to around 30 tutors in just a couple of years. So welcome, guys. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
It's a real privilege to have you guys on. And thank you very much, Dani, for joining us from Japan. That's not going to be too much of an issue today.
No, it's amazing. We can have these Zoom sessions through different time zones.
I think if you two are able to run an entire business from the UK and Japan, I think we can probably do a single podcast. So I think we'll dive right into the first question, and I'll let either of you kind of dive in first here. But that question is what is your why as tutors?
I think for me, my tutor journey started when I was teaching in a school, and I've been teaching a particular boy French for a number of years. And he was dyslexic, and French was a subject that really wasn't his favourite subject at all. And so he got through to year 6, and the day I was saying goodbye to him at the door, his mum said to me, "Oh, would you be able to carry on, please, as he goes into secondary school? Could you carry on teaching him French?" So of course I agreed, and he was my first pupil, really. So I started, and I carried on throughout his secondary school education until he took his GCSEs, and really finding ways in which to tailor my lessons to him, to find ways in which to make him feel inspired to learn and to actually enjoy learning French, which was amazing that he did in the end. And I remember the day he phoned me, the day he got his GCSE results, and he said, "Guess what? I got an A." And it was just amazing. It was the most amazing feeling. And I think it enabled him to go to the sixth form college of his choice. It enabled him to have a scholarship to play football in America for a year. So it was just this amazing result. And I guess since then, Charlotte and I have had multiple stories like this along the way. And for us, I guess that's why we tutor. It's why we love what we're doing. It's why we believe in our company. We believe in our business. We believe in supporting our clients. And that's why we do what we do.
Yeah. I mean, to follow on from what Dani said, I think one of my whys, I struggled quite a bit with maths at secondary school. And it wasn't until my parents organised a tutor for me that I realised I actually could do it. I just didn't have that sort of belief that I could do it. And once that confidence grew, I was away and absolutely fine. But I think sometimes you need that one-to-one or that small group dynamic to find that confidence inside a child. And I guess that, that's how we see tuition. It's about that building of confidence in a child so that they realise that they can do it.
Yeah, I think that's such, you're clearly at the forefront of this development that I've seen over the years I've been tutoring, from kind of, specific, we get you, we can help this child get from a B to an A star. And that's what we do. And after the end of the exam, we'll say goodbye, to this kind of slightly longer term, what is it that helps children learn? Is it someone who's just going to kind of beast them for 2 months to get them an A star? Or is it someone who's going to inspire a slightly longer term enjoyment of learning? So that's amazing to hear from as you're wise, and that's clearly not just kind of marketing puff. That's clearly something that's helped build the foundations of your business. So off the back of that, really, how did you guys come to work in the kind of the 11 plus, the SATs field? There's so many areas that you could target. Why this one?
Yeah, well, I guess it's more 11 plus than SATs, although, we do occasionally have SATs Year 6 inquiries. But I guess it started from us both having taught in Year 5 and 6. We both taught an independent school where we worked, and the majority of children were preparing for their 11 plus exams. So we've had that experience within a school, helping them prepare for these exams. We've helped, give parents advice on schools, help them with the exams themselves. And I guess it's grown from there, really. Dani and I both attended independent London schools as well. So we've been through the 11 plus, albeit quite a while ago now. But yeah, I having that experience is, it helps. And now it's come down to the demand for 11 plus tutors. I'm sure, Ludo, well, the sort of 11 plus, how incredibly competitive it is. And the majority of children are tutored for it, whether it be for grammar schools or independent schools. So I'd say most of our inquiries are for children taking the 11 plus exams. So, for these reasons, we've ensured that we've been able to cater for these inquiries.
I think, on top of that, what we've talked about this already before, but we both feel really strongly about making sure that a child is not under pressure when they're being tutored, but they're actually feeling inspired and they're actually enjoying the process of learning. And, we worry about the parents who are, forcing the child to learn hours upon hours every day. It's counterproductive. It's not good for the mental health. And so we do work really hard to make sure that the process is enjoyable, and that children come out of it feeling really confident that it's not just about the 11 plus, but it's about their future, that they feel well equipped for secondary school. And
how has that changed over the pandemic? How have you seen that children are either more or perhaps less equipped for this process?
For me, I feel as though the divide has grown, because you had people during the lockdown where they could get a tutor every single day, and then other children who weren't accessing school at all. So what's good is that the 11 plus process has changed, and they are trying to make the exam slightly better for children. There's one exam that caters for, for several schools. So, but it has been hard, I think, during the pandemic.
I wanted to ask kind of at the end a little bit more about your courses, but it seems a good time to talk about how those developed, and please, take this as a platform to market what you guys have. Don't be afraid there. But how have you seen the approach to course-led learning change since last March?
I mean, COVID, opened up the online world. Before we had one tutor who used to tutor online, and we struggled to get her, work. So bringing everything online really did help. So we offer creative writing courses for year 2 all the way up to year 6. And again, we used to run these courses in person, and it was just, a struggle to find the venues, to fill the spaces. But when COVID hit, we just took them online and haven't really looked back, really, because the online lessons just work brilliantly. So we've been really pleased with that. I think with only 6 children in each session is a really high level of interaction between the tutor and each child, which does allow for great progress for each of those children. I think a lot of courses have lots of children in them, particularly with these online ones. Some of them have sort of hundreds of children attending, and there's no real direct feedback. So it doesn't allow for that progression that we see. And also we encourage the children to send in their homework or their, the work that they've written to the tutor after each lesson. So it allows for that individual feedback so that they can, edit, improve their work. And now, being online, it's just opened up, obviously, the marketplace for us. We've got children joining from India, Hong Kong. I've got a child from Dubai in my class at the moment. So it's brilliant. It's really, really lovely to reach out to those people.
Yeah, and I would like to add, it's a bit of a plug, but we did an annual review a couple of months ago where we contacted all of our clients to get some feedback, and we had 100% of clients said that they were very satisfied with our courses, and it just made us yay, we're doing it. We monitor the feedback as we go along to make sure that everybody's happy. So we do everything to make sure that course is helping and benefiting each individual child, and it's going well.
Yeah, it sounds like it. 100% is about as good as it gets. So you've just touched on something there that is a really important part of developing a business, which is obviously this you've always embedded into your process, your approach with parents, understanding feedback, making sure that the client is happy with what you do. And this was something that you and I spoke about, Charlotte, when we spoke last week, about how the journey that you've had with Bright Light Education has taught you an enormous deal about business. And you've mentioned there that you did an annual review. That might be something that's quite novel to someone running a tutoring business. Did you feel like you were always able to embed these really kind of these best practices from the very early days of Bright Light, or have you found that that's come with the higher rate of business, the higher number of tutors?
It's definitely been a learning experience for us. At the beginning, as Dani said earlier, it was more sort of on demand, thinking, oh, we've got these people now, we've got to run this course. Whereas now it's very different. We have waiting lists for our courses now. I think the monitoring and the feedback was something that came up. I think, we just decided that we wanted, we want everyone to be happy. We want everyone to benefit from our courses. And that's the key to it. And we realized actually we need to be doing these evaluations to find out if everyone is happy. After the first lesson of each of our courses, I call every single parent to speak to them and get their individual feedback on the course. And it's helped hugely to grow our business, because we've been able to, get that feedback and go, oh, actually, they're right. Maybe we should tweak this or change this, or, this will work better. And so we've continued to sort of tweak and improve, each of our courses. So it's been really, really helpful.
Yeah, I think perhaps in another conversation, I wanted this podcast to be more about what you guys spoke about when we first discussed this, in terms of the curriculum and the approach to tutoring and how the pandemic has changed things. I think there's a whole other podcast about you two kind of as business leaders and what you've learned over that. So look at me just setting up part 2.
Sounds good. I've never been described as a business leader before, so that's new.
I can't think of another word really for how you've kind of led Bright Light. But on that note, so shifting back towards kind of the curriculum, back towards the pedagogy. You mentioned in initial kind of contacts we had that you have a strong belief in how English and kind of the English curriculum should be taught, should be accessed by students. Can you give us a little bit more of an insight into what your approach is to how English should be taught in today's industry, today's society?
I think I had been tutoring several children, supporting them with their English skills over whilst they were in year 4, year 3, perhaps, and really developing their writing skills. And then suddenly the parents say, "Oh, I think you should do some SATs practice." So I was like, okay, fine. So, the writing was completely pushed to the side. And what I was then having to do was to teach children about determiners and about possessive pronouns and about subordinating conjunctions and all of these things, which I really felt that the children didn't need to know. Some of them went on to secondary school and they said, guess what? We don't need to know about determiners. It was a waste of time. And I do feel quite strongly that there's been this shift to dividing up English into these different categories, when actually if you teach English through creative writing, then it's magical, because you're without the children knowing it, you're teaching them grammar skills, you're teaching them to write in the correct tense, you're teaching them new vocabulary, but it's all done in this really enjoyable way of let's write a story, let's feel excited, we're going to be authors, and I'm going to teach you the skills of how to become an author. So that kind of, I guess, that inspired us to write our creative writing skills book, where we teach children the skills for writing and also, how to bring it all together to write a story. And it's that step-by-step guide to creative writing. So that's how I would personally, and I think, Charlotte and I would love English to be taught through creative writing rather than this kind of focus on grammar and dividing up English into these different categories. So, Charlotte's got a book there, I think. She's going to show it.
I was about to ask.
So this is it, available on Amazon. Yes, creative writing skills. So there's lots of it's a guide and workbook in one. So it helps parents as well as, it's got lovely activities for the children to get involved in. Creative writing skills.
Lovely. So Amazon is the best place to get that, is it? Is it on?
Yeah, we've got a UK edition on .co.uk, and then we've actually just brought out our USA edition as well on .com.
And your Dubai edition, your Indian
later.
Time.
So how does that, Dani? How does that link? What you've just been saying there, how does that link to today's curriculum in English? What is it that, if this is to be a kind of an approach to the DFE, what is it that in what ways can we alter the English curriculum in today's mainstream education to factor that in, what you've been saying there?
I think there needs to be this change so that it's not Friday is the free write day and Monday is the grammar day, that it's children are reading books. I would love for schools to actually encourage children to read and love reading. And you can then do tasks based on reading. So, if schools are starting to do this, where they read a book for their half term and they do writing tasks based on it. You can do grammar activities based on it, creative writing based on reading. That's what I would pitch to the DFE, would be to say we need to change. We need to perhaps scrap SATs, perhaps. I do sometimes see value in these exams, but I don't see the value in the grammar, the obsession with these grammar, the terminology there. So having more of a focus of writing and reading, that would be my push, really.
Yeah, I don't think that's too much of a jump, really, is it?
No.
Do you see that in the curricula of other countries? In your experience, have you seen how it differs?
It's quite interesting being in Japan. I'm constantly learning from my son and how he's learning, and he does have to write a kind of diary every week, but there's no creative writing here either. So that's my next plan, is to try to bring creative writing to the Japanese education as well. They do a lot of other creative things within the education system. So I see a lot more creativity. They don't have history lessons, geography lessons. They have more like nature lessons and world lessons. So I do see a lot more creativity in the primary system over here, but I do need to work on their Japanese language as well.
We need our Japanese version.
Well, I know it's on the list, Charlotte. I haven't mentioned that to
you. Got books. She's got redesigning the entire Japanese English curriculum. There's
a few things.
Yeah, there are a few things.
To join the growing number of qualified tutors, enrol now for the Level 3 qualification for tutors. This 8-week online facilitated course covers the roles and responsibilities involved in teaching and learning, with a particular focus on inclusion, assessment, and feedback. Upon completion, you'll be awarded a Level 3 in education and training from Ofqual recognised training provider Highfield Qualifications. You will also gain a Qualified Tutor Quality Mark, the independent quality mark for tutors. Whatever your starting point, a qualification for tutors has to be the next step. Enroll today at qualifiedtutor.org/training.
It would be great to hear more about what's coming next for Bright Light Education. Perhaps you've just been discussing it there, but what's kind of on the roadmap for the next couple of years?
I mean, we've got so many plans, as I just said before, just not enough hours in the day to get through them as fast as we would like to. But we've got a phonics book coming out, so for the early years, which we're really excited about. Both of us have experience teaching reception and the little ones. And hopefully by the end of this year, that will be out. And plans for a comprehension book, another creative writing book, more courses. The list goes on.
Yeah, so just briefly, just before we finish, what kind of courses can parents and students expect to find as part of your package?
So we have the creative writing courses that I mentioned earlier, sort of from year 2 all the way up to year 6. But we also offer a lot of other 11+ preparation courses, including a comprehension course and an interview practice workshop as well. Getting those children ready for those interviews, sort of December, January time. And again, these are all online with maximum of 6 children. So we still have that, interaction between each tutor and child. And finally, we've got these homeschooling classes that have grown massively over the last sort of 6 months, I guess, which are English skills courses, classes to homeschool children. So they happen in the daytime rather than after school. And work really well. So lots going on.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a pretty exciting time to be part of this. And actually, to finish here, I'd love you guys to let us know, to let listeners know, what message do you have for a tutor listening to this now, interested in joining Bright Light?
I mean, I guess our tutors are self-employed. So they have that sort of freedom themselves, but we still offer a really personal experience. We're always at the end of a phone, whether it be over messages or calls or through our WhatsApp groups. So we've often got tutors messaging about 11 plus tutoring or dealing with certain clients' expectations. So we really we love that we can help in that way. We're teachers, we're tutors, but we're also mothers, and we have lots of other tutors that are mothers as well. So it's nice to be able to understand that juggle, and I think they relate. Lots of our tutors relate to that that sort of the difficulties that sometimes that brings. I guess slightly blowing our own trumpets here, but we are lovely people. We're nice, we're approachable, and personable. We're always there for a tutor if they need that help. So they've got lots of support from us when they need it.
We've had some lovely feedback from recently, haven't we, from a couple of our tutors who have moved on for different reasons, but they've just been so appreciative of all the support they've had over the years. And most of our tutors stay with us for years as well.
Wonderful. Well, retention is such a good sign, a good positive sign for a tutoring business. So absolutely. Your teachers, your tutors, your mothers, your business leaders.
Yes, we need to keep saying that.
As we found out today, I don't know how we uncovered that, but there's thank you so much, both of you, Dani and Charlotte, for joining us there. I hope you enjoyed a little bit talking about your own business. You seem to, podcast listeners may not be able to see the very bright smiling faces that I'm seeing right now, but I guess that's a reflection of the company's name. So thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you so much for having us on our first podcast as well.
Yeah, your first of I imagine many. After hearing the podcast requests will come streaming in after this, so watch out for that. And if anyone's listening, brightlighteducation.co.uk is your next step. So go and check out Dani and Charlotte's courses and their book, certainly, which the link to which will be in the show notes below. But for one final time, thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
See you again next time. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Qualified Tutor Podcast. Whether you're a regular listener of this podcast or you've just stumbled across it, join the Qualified Tutor podcast group within the Qualified Tutor community to stay up to date with our latest news, offers, workshops, and of course, simply to meet other tutors like you. Whatever your level as a tutor, our training courses will be the next step in your professional development. Visit qualifiedtutor.org/training to find out more about our CPD accredited and Ofqual recognised courses, the first of their kind in the tutoring industry. Your student deserves the best tutor possible. Make that happen today by joining Qualified Tutor